Fritz Policelli. Fritz is an employee at NASA, Goddard Space Flight Center. And Fritz will talk about global flood monitoring to inform high-resolution local flood monitoring.
Okay, can you hear me, Albert?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me to this to do this presentation, and thank you, of course, to everybody who came. My name is Fritz Policelli, and I'm with NASA at the Goddard Space Flight Center. So I've been working maybe the past 10 years or so in the world of flood monitoring, and have been with the Global Flood Partnership since its beginning, and attended many, if not most, of the meetings. And so I'd like to talk a little bit about the work, more recent work we've been doing in global flood monitoring, and now how we're linking it more towards being able to monitor at high resolution and for more local utility. Okay, if you don't mind, next screen. So this is what I'm calling the legacy Modus flood mapping system. It's been around for about 10 years now, and hopefully some or many of you are somewhat familiar with it. We've been using data from Modus, both the Aqua and the Terra systems, at primarily the near infrared and red bands at 250 meters resolution to monitor essentially the globe every day, and to provide flood maps everywhere, whether there's a flood or there's not. And this is just one example of some recent flooding that we were looking at in Southeast Asia, and the interface for the legacy system. And there's the link below if you have any interest in looking at that. Okay, next chart, please. So I call it the legacy system because now we have transferred the operation over to NASA Lands, which for those of you who don't know, that's the near real-time data providing system that NASA has put together, and Modus is one of the key data sets that's provided. And so we're providing essentially the same product, a few at this point, a few minor upgrades, and some improved utility on the interface. But we're providing that. We just started earlier this year to provide that. We're still providing the data through the legacy system for those of you who are more used to using that, but the plan is to switch that off at some point and to go strictly with the Lance system. And there are two links below that will take you to the front page of the Modus system, and then to this world view. This viewer is the second link down there, to where you can go and then just zoom up on all of the any of the events that you have an interest in. Okay, yeah, next slide, please. So having transferred now to Lance, we're going to start some upgrades to that system. The greatest challenges we have, of course, are in shadow, terrain shadow, and cloud shadow, for getting false positive indications for floods because of the similarity in the bands we're using between the shadows and water. So we plan to update the terrain shadow mask. We're going to use we're using a geometry approach using a DEM and the solar incidence information angle that we have, and so we're going to use an improved DEM for that. And similarly for the cloud shadow mask, we're actually going to go back to fundamental principles on this a little bit. There is a cloud shadow mask within Modus, but we've found it somewhat problematic. So we only use it on our one-day products, where we have multiple days of data from Modus, our 2-day and our 3-day, and then we have also a 14-day product, compositing of those time periods. We use a requirement for multiple acquisitions to show flooding in order to help screen out some of the cloud shadow mask. Screen out some of the cloud shadow false positives. And the idea there is that it's not highly likely that a cloud shadow would appear in, say, for 2 days, you get 4 acquisitions. So it would not appear in all 4 of those. It would be less likely. But at the same time, if we have only 1 indication over 2 days, then we don't indicate flood, and so we're masking out probably a significant number, and we're giving false negatives in that case. So we're going to go back and look. We're working with Eric Vermote at Goddard. We're going to work with him and try and understand why we're getting problems in the first place with the Modus cloud shadow mask. And again, their solution is a geometry-based approach using the positions of the cloud and the solar incidence angle to project the cloud onto the surface. And it's not clear to us why we're still getting problems with that. So additionally, the third bullet there, we've been using for a very long time now Mod 44W by Mark Carroll as our water mask. And we're going to create a new water mask using the water identification algorithm that we use. It actually comes from Bob Brackenridge at DFO originally, using the red and near infrared bands. But we're going to use that to create a new normal water mask, as well as create seasonal masks, so that we're not showing seasonal flooding as unusual disaster type flooding. Okay, I guess we did, Albert. I think we lost the presentation.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Why is it not showing? Let me just one
Yeah,
second.
no problem.
Yeah, apologies for that.
No problem.
Okay, it's here. For some reason, Zoom sharing doesn't. Here it is. Okay.
Yeah, I had problems this morning with it as well. Okay.
Okay.
So go back.
I think it may have stepped.
Yeah, it skipped a few. Go up back to. Oh, here we go. Okay. Whoop. There we go. Okay. So I was just talking about the third bullet there, seasonal water mask. So, and right now, even in the legacy system, we only go back about to 2011. But when we do some of these major upgrades on the LANT system, we're going to reprocess the entire Modus archive. So we'll have, going back to 2001, I guess, we'll have an entire 20 years record of Modus flooding based on that algorithm. Significantly, Modus is on both Aqua and Terra will be coming to an end, eventually. It's been going for 20 years now, and that's very impressive, but it has maybe another 4 to 5 years, something like that is what I understand, if everything continues to work. So we're going to add VIIRS data, and we've been looking, and maybe somebody that's listening knows more about this and can help us a little bit. We've been looking into what data we can get in near real time, and what that means in near real time and how to access that. I've read conflicting things and have tried, but unsuccessfully, to acquire near real time Sentinel-3 OLCI data. So if anybody has some information on that or a good contact on that, that would be very helpful to me. I'm going to talk about next a little bit about our experimental flood alerts, but we're going to go, of course, NASA's not operational, but I put it in quotes. We're going to have LANTs produced regular flood alerts, and I'll talk about our approach on that here in a minute. And then we were just awarded, along with a number of the folks at this meeting here, a award from a proposal to the NASA Modus VIIRS solicitation to develop a new experimental product for this moderate resolution data using an adaptive neuro-fuzzy interference system, which is basically a combination of machine learning and fuzzy logic called ANFIS. So we're going to produce a new product, and hopefully that will help with some of the limitations that we've talked about, and we'll be able to continue use of this new algorithm into the future with the VIIRS and the Sentinel-3. Okay, next chart, please. Okay, so what I'm calling the experimental potential flood alert system, a couple of adjectives in there to indicate that it's experimental and maybe should not be acted on immediately without some other information. But we're using the 250 meter resolution flood information that we derive from this Modus flood mapping system that I talked about. And so currently, just for a very, very limited audience and very recently, I'm issuing an email every morning at 7 a.m. US Eastern time, which is not locked in stone. Of course, we could produce that as the data comes in throughout the day, or we can pick a different time for somebody that might wake up at a different time of the world and can produce these emails. In the email, I just put the 8 largest floods, but I also link to the complete list. We have machine-to-machine readable format that at least DFO uses, I think, that can look at all of the floods, and we get quite a number of them around the globe. And also the email links to the flood map viewer that I showed earlier there, so that you can take a look at the data that it's coming from. And we're monitoring. We broke the globe down into about 365,000 24 kilometer by 24 kilometer areas of interest. And these we did specifically to correspond directly to the PlanetScope orthotile scenes. And for those of you who don't know, PlanetScope is really an amazing commercial data set that's unfortunately optical, but it's at 3-meter resolution, and normally there's at least 1 acquisition per day. Sometimes there's several. And so we're monitoring those areas of interest. We've had to filter out a number of the alarms, and it's a number of the areas that we're monitoring. So, for instance, to avoid until we get a better solution, we're not using areas of interest that have more than 20% cloud cover. Of course, the cloud cover shadows correspond to the cloud cover, and so hopefully we're eliminating a good deal of it by doing that filtering. But again, then we're not looking at a very high number of scenes through this. We also have a population filter, and would benefit from some feedback along the way of what population level maybe set that at. Right now it's at very, very low, so that we're just not looking at things maybe in northern Canada or Siberia, but everywhere else in the world right now. Okay, next chart, please. So this is, of course, an eye chart, but I just wanted to show this is an email that comes out every day. And there's 8 entries because that's about my attention span, I think. And I figure maybe probably other people have even less interest than I do. And I just highlight the very largest ones that are going on at the time. And you can see we provide information about with, of course, the coordinates there, and what the population of that particular 24 by 24 kilometer scene is, and how many flooded pixels we have, and then what the statistical number of pixels is previously, both the mean and the standard deviation, and the number of scenes that we used to develop that historical statistics for that particular area of interest, so that we're only flagging things that are really anomalies. We need to know what the past mean and standard deviation is. And then there's a whole lot of very interesting notes at the bottom that probably people don't read, but it gives you a good idea of how this is being done. And also in particular, you can see highlighted a link there that would take you to the complete list. And in this particular day, if you read very, very closely, you can see that there were 765 of these 365,000 areas of interest that were indicating a flood. And again, this email just shows the top 8 and has links to those, but the link is there to go to the entire list if there's any kind of interest. Okay, and please, there's my email there. If you're interested in this, and particularly, we're very interested in getting some feedback on how this is working and so forth. Please send me an email and let me know, and I'll add you if you'd like. I'll add you to the daily email. Okay, next chart, please. So I think the next step we want to take in the Modus alerts is, instead of monitoring very specifically to the planet scope areas of interest, we're going to use an AI technique called blob detection, which just looks for clusters of similar pixels. And you can see, if you look carefully in this image, you can see the red is indications of flood, and then this automated blob detection has picked out the areas circled in black. What are there? 3 of them, I think, in this image. Maybe you can see those, hopefully. But it gives us, much more accurate or precise, I guess, location of the floods. And we think this is going to be better for combining with other flood alert systems, rather than the 24 kilometer by 24 kilometer fixed boxes. We think that this will help enable that in the future. And it's in work. I've done some testing on it. This is an actual example from that. Okay, yeah, next chart, please. Okay, so we actually have run some tests using the automated flood alert system from Modus, and linked it to an automated flood products system that pulls PlanetScope data and creates different products. But the conclusion is that probably maybe we're not getting the ones that we can't do 700 or whatever scenes, and the top 8 maybe sometimes they're just not the ones that are of interest. So we conclude that we still need a person in the loop. And the solution we've devised, talking to some of our partners in the disaster management community, is to have a website where we capture those requirements. And the website is nearly finished and just about ready for testing. And you can see, of course, we capture the latitude and longitude and the date range, the earliest and the latest acceptable data acquisitions. And then you have a choice if you want to say, well, maximum cloud cover I want for this is 20%. Or you can say, no, I want 2 scenes no matter what the cloud cover is. And then toward the bottom there, you can see we'll have 9 products, and I'll talk about those in just a minute, that you can choose from. And then if you choose one of the reference map products or change map, then you'll get another screen that'll ask you, when do you want to target the reference scene, the prior to flood scene? When do you want to have for a target date for that, and cloud cover, and some other things about the reference scene? So this is really brand new, and it's hopefully we'll be testing this with our partners in the not too distant future. Okay, next chart, please. Okay, so 9 PlanetScope products initially. For the flood scene, we're going to provide a false color image, NDWI map, NDVI map, and a water map. And so those are just some examples there that are shown. Of course, the cloud cover being an issue with the optical data. And for the reference scene, if you request one, then you would get a choice of up to the same 4 products: false color, NDWI, NDVI, and water map, and then a change map. So we're specifically not calling it a flood map. We're calling it a change map because we're reaching back to some unknown or some basically unknown condition, unless the end user really knows. And maybe it was flooding, maybe it was drought. We don't know what the conditions were if you just go back 1 year. So it's a change map, not necessarily a flood map. One day we'd like to have a good normal water mask for PlanetScope data for the enormous number of scenes that cover the globe. And then we could produce a true flood map, but right now we're calling it a change map. Okay, next chart, please. So next steps. Right now, of course, the image, the false color image that we produce, and the NDWI and NDVI, those are very, very, very straightforward. But the water map, has been mentioned earlier by saying, oh, you need a threshold at some point. What threshold of NDWI is water, and what is and what is not. And so currently we're using a fixed value that we found in the literature for NDWI, but working a dynamic solution, and pretty far along on that hope to incorporate that before too long. that looks at the histogram of the NDWI and chooses a threshold based on that. Also, I'm just starting to get some of the NASA has access to historical worldview data, and so I'm just starting to access some of that very high resolution, half meter or so data to evaluate how well is our water products doing, kind of visually versus the worldview high resolution data. And then I need to integrate this website that I showed with the code that produces all of those data automatically. And then we're going to distribute our data through DFO. NASA has just become outrageous in terms of how we can distribute large data sets with all of the security concerns. And so we're really having a very difficult time doing that on an experimental basis. And so we're going to go through DFO, and they have they're very competent at doing that. And of course, we want to test it quite a bit, and then start testing with our disaster management partners. We're also working with Franz Meyer from Alaska Satellite Facility and his team. We want to add Sentinel-1 data to the products that we would generate based on these on capturing these requirements. And then we're interested in working with the community for using for adding additional products and for looking for funding opportunities like everybody else, so that we can better support the community. Okay, next chart, please.
I think that was it.
Is that it? Oh, okay. Yeah, I forgot. Okay, yeah. But hopefully that gives you a good overview of the things that we're working on and things we're interested in. And let me know if there are any questions.